So as you saw through the presentation that Ms. Wadi went through, the residential expansion threshold is made up of two major changes. One is doing away with the definition of demolition. And the other one is to set expansion limits for RH zoning districts, which is RH1, RH1, RH3. So before we get into what a demolition is or is not, let's just revisit what demolition controls are. So this is pretty straightforward. Demolition controls are measures taken by a city to consider the effects of demolition on affordability and the neighborhood character. So why do we need demolition controls? Well, again, the answer is simple, because we do want to retain the affordable housing stock, especially in a hot real estate market that we have. And also, we want to have houses that are more in line with the neighborhood character. You know that older homes are more in line with the neighborhood character, and they're also more affordable. So here's a $64,000 question. What is a demolition? So that is, how much of an existing structure can we remove before the whole thing is considered a demo? How much can we retain of an existing structure? What's a remodel? What's demolition? So how do we know that? So those are the questions that tantamount to demolition addresses. And in a nutshell, tantamount to demolition is a threshold, as Ms. Wadi mentioned. It's basically a threshold that tells you how much of an existing structure can be retained and how much can be demolished. Anything below that threshold is considered a demolition. Anything above that threshold is considered a demolition. Now, FYI, this is a planning code that is managed and controlled by the planning department and not the DBI. And here's a distinction. If tantamount to demolition is removed, the only definition of demolition that we have for the city of San Francisco is what the DBI defines, which is tearing down the whole house to the foundation. So, as I have on the slide, you could tear down the whole house and keep a couple of 2x4s and call it a remodel. So that is a huge gulf of definition between what the planning department considers a demo, or what constitutes a demo, versus what the Department of Building Inspection considers a demo. So, but why do we want to get rid of tantamount to demolition? So, you already saw the slides that the planning department presented. So, their reasons are what you saw. So, here's what we think the problem is. The problem is the complexity of the definition of what tantamount to demolition is, and the lack of enforcement. So, you don't enforce it, well, guess what? There's not going to be any demolition control. And if it is too complex to the point that people are going to be confused, or they're going to be not too keen on enforcing it, the result is going to be lack of enforcement. So again, the cure is worse than the disease, folks. So the demolition hasn't been, the demolition control, or rather the tantamount to demolition hasn't been working because the definition is too complex and the enforcement is too lax. And in terms of acknowledging where the problem is, I believe, what the planning department is doing is, honestly, they're trying to acknowledge the problem, but they're throwing the baby with the bathwater. And also the proposal is lopsided because the tantamount to demolition right now applies to all zoning districts. So getting rid of tantamount to demolition means we're getting rid of it for everything in RH zones, RM, NCD, NCT, but the only zoning districts that have any kind of expansion limits, according to this proposal, are RH zones. So what gives? We have to ask ourselves, is this what we want to do? Do we want to get rid of any kind of threshold that defines how much of a structure can be removed? And if that's the case, then nothing will be considered a demolition according to the planning department. And if that's the case, nothing will stop the developers from tearing down the building to the ground, only to replace it with something that is much bigger and more, definitely unaffordable. So what about these thresholds or limiting expansion? Well, these aren't much of a limit. Why? Because even according to the department's own admission, average dwelling in the city of San Francisco is no more than 1,500 to 1,600 square feet. So if that's the case, why have thresholds that allow single-family home to be 3,000 square feet, plus another 750 square foot for ADU, plus more for parking? Last presentation that I saw, of course, I must admit, this presentation doesn't include possibility of adding parking, but then that's from the last presentation. Nevertheless, this is what we have. Huge buildings that, to me, they look like more of an incentive than a limit. So let's do the math. 1.2 RH1 zones is going to give you 3,750 square feet plus whatever they're going to give you for the parking. Same thing for RH2. These are square footage on a whole structure. RH3, 6,000 plus square feet. Now, this is more like luxification than densification, folks. Here's an example from my neighborhood. 25th Street, $1.1 million sold in 2014. It was only 1,200 square feet. Fast forward to today, 2017. The place gets ballooned up to 3,785 square feet. No demolition permit was filed. It was all under the guise of a remodel. Well, do you think 3,785 square feet is too much? Well, folks, that's only 1.3 FAR. What the planning department is proposing is an FAR of 1.8. Now, having any question about that? Check this out. This is what an FAR of 1.3 looks like, which is the aerial view of that house that got sold for $5 million only last year. This is affordability, guys. This is real-life affordability crisis. So imagine this building with 1.8, FAR of 1.8. So to us, this is what the buzzword densification looks like. Expulsion plus expansion. Because you cannot have densification. You cannot expand a property so long as people are living in it. Have you ever seen a construction project where people are living in it and people have put on another floor or expanded into the yard? In a city where 65% of residents are tenants, you tell me, how are we going to be expanding and densifying unless we're going to be doing it on the back of the residents? So, in short, we do not support this proposal because one definition for all demolition is no good if that definition is a DBI definition, which is tear it down to the ground. Family housing, well, I don't know. Luxury housing for families that can spend $2 million to $5 million, I don't know. Density, well, making room for future residents at the cost of displacing the current ones. The rent control, clarification, yeah, sure, let's clarify it for the people who were displaced because the developer kicked them out so that they could go and file permit in the planning department. In short, the red is a perfect storm for developers. You get rid of demolition definition, then you give them these huge allotments to expand these properties, and at the end, we don't even get that affordability requirement that we had with the AHP. So, we don't support this. And I'm going to now turn to Mr. Smook, who's going to continue.
Thank you, Ozzie. Next is Joseph Smook, whenever you're ready.
Sure, I don't know the PowerPoint.
No PowerPoint. Okay. Ready?
Yeah, we could move over here if you want, or we can just
That's
go from
fine. Okay, go ahead.
here. Okay, great. All right.
Let me start.
I don't know.